Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to School Building Committee's Community Workshop number 8. Tonight we're talking a little bit about schematic design. That's the phase that we've started, so thank you for coming. So in front of us tonight we do have a 3D model of the design. And we're going to talk about transportation amongst some other topics here on the list. As always, our committee is a cross-section of the entire community, selectmen, finance, citizens at large, school members, other town members in our committee. So we're trying to always evaluate the best options for the entire town, and this is a town project. So it's great that we have this representation and that we can help make a collective decision. So tonight we have Joel Seeley, our owner's project manager, and Kent Kovacs from Landsberg Architects, who's responsible for the design. So I'm going to hand it off to Joel and we'll get started.
Thanks, Jim. So first, before we start the presentation, let's remind ourselves why we're here. We're here to develop a mitigation plan, a design to address the significant issues with the Peebles Elementary School. And this is a process that started many years ago, but more in particular, October 27th, 2014, the voters of Bourne's town meeting appropriated the funding for this feasibility study, recognizing the significant need that Peebles was presenting, and developing a solution in partnership with the MSBA to secure a grant for the overall development of the project. And as it stands right now, that grant is estimated to be approximately $14 million. So it's a very significant partnership with the MSBA and a very significant contribution from the state to the town of Bourne. The MSBA is the Massachusetts School Building Authority, and they oversee all school construction across the state. They are a partner with all local communities, providing guidance, structure for the feasibility study as well as the design, very substantive regulations and guidelines to follow for each community. And if you follow those guidelines and those regulations in partnership with the MSBA, they'll provide a grant to each community. In our case, that grant will be 43.84% of eligible costs as we go through the project. Just recently, July 20th, the MSBA Board of Directors approved the preliminary schematic report for this project. That is a very, very significant a vote of approval. That is saying to you, the town, that the MSBA Board of Directors agrees with the design that's been submitted, the option 5A, and is approving the town to go into the next level of design, that is the schematic design phase, which we'll talk about tonight where we are with that. So it's a very, very significant, very, very important milestone for the town, which gets us closer to realizing that very, very significant grant from the state. The MSBA process, as I said, is a very regulated process. Within the feasibility study itself, there's 3 main phases: the preliminary design report, or PDP phase, the PSR phase, or preferred schematic report, and then the schematic design. In December, we finished the PDP phase, submitted it to the MSBA and staff. We had multiple community meetings, multiple meetings with the building committee here, and that phase was completed. and it allowed us to proceed into the next phase, the preliminary schematic report phase. That was submitted to MSBA in June, and then on July 20th rather, the MSBA Board of Directors voted and approved the option 5A. Very, very significant. So we are right now in the schematic design phase. We'll be submitting that back to the state on September 29th. That is the final submission for the feasibility study. And at that point, the Board of Directors, again, will reconvene and they'll analyze to make sure we stayed on track with the option 5A. And then they'll vote to approve that overall appropriation and that overall grant. Can't see this, I know this is our guiding schedule. Let's pull up a few dates. For that, we submitted the PDP on December 18th, the PSR on June 2nd. We're going to submit the schematic design on September 29th. Board approval with that schematic design will be November 9th of this year, November 9th, 2016. We'll be bringing we anticipate bringing the project to the voters at the special town meeting this October 17th, 2016, seeking appropriation for the overall project. And then on December 6th of this year, 2016, we anticipate being on, with a successful town meeting vote, being on the special ballot election vote for the debt exclusion vote. So all of the key dates in front of us have been established both locally as well as at the state level. The state has been an excellent partner, a very encouraging partner to the town because they really see that there's a significant need, as Ken will talk about a little bit later, with addressing the issues at the Bourne, at the Peebles Elementary School. The building committee, which is made up of all town-wide representatives in both selectmen, finance, school, and members at large, been a great committee in guiding this project for you. And they have said all along we want to have the most transparent, open process that we can for the development of the right solution for the Peebles School. And with that, we've had 3 community forums during that first initial phase, that PDP phase, in which we talked about all the various conditions, what are the potential options, what are the top 3 options. Then we had 4 community forums during the PSR phase, again, with the whole goal of gaining as much community input in this overall process as possible. And it's been very, very enlightening, very, very beneficial to the building committee as they've made this overall design process come to this level with such significant community input. So far, we've had 21 school building committee meetings. We've been meeting just about every other week. They're open meetings. The majority of them are broadcast on Bourne TV, and we really encourage participation from the community at our meetings, and it's been very beneficial. Those 21 meetings have brought us to this point. We've had 7 community meetings. This is now the 8th one. We've had a town meeting report and 3 town board presentations. We have additional town board presentations coming up. We've got a selectmen's meeting presentation on August 23rd, and we've got some future meetings that are being scheduled at this time. But again, the whole idea is a process of very transparent and open process. We've had 2 community-wide surveys leading up to this point, which helped inform the design. And we've sort of televised all our school building and community forums to date. Some of the completed milestones really starting back to 2012. So it really does take a long time to get through this point. It's a very deliberate process that the MSBA has to make sure that the community is really investigating all of the options. And so starting in 2012, the Town of Bourne submitted the Statement of Interest. That was a document that the selectmen, the school committee, and the superintendent had to sign and submit to the state, and vote to sign and submit to the state, which identified and stated that there is a need to address it at the Peebles School. And so since 2012, there's been many, many steps along the way leading up to the design that we'll be presenting tonight. Just a few more of the key dates that we've gone through. Completed tasks, hazardous materials investigation of the building evaluations, options development, traffic evaluations. We've developed multiple different options for review and analysis, all leading up to the Board of MSBA approving the option 5A. Very, very significant moment in the feasibility study. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ken.
Thank you, Joel. Looking at the need for the project, it really stems to this. It's to provide a long-term solution for your existing area in Peebles School. It's over 62 years old, and it's served the community well. Provide educational spaces that meet the MSBA state standards. There's many spaces within Peebles that doesn't support education moving forward. Update the school to meet the vision and workshop goals. Provide 21st century educational spaces. I'll discuss some of these when we get to the design option. And most of all, a place that Bourne can be proud of. This is a new building for Bourne, and we're going to make it the best it can be. Looking at the Peebles School, just some of the kind of the physical elements you see. This is a 1953 school. It's over 62 years old. There was an addition built in 59 that has settled quite a bit in the back of the school. This building, the mechanical systems are working. This is the school committee facilities has done a great job keeping this building safe for the students, but it's at a cost, and it's going to continue to be at a cost. The mechanical system in the building, the heat and temperature fluctuates very hard to keep it constant within the learning environment. The windows, a lot of the Peebles facade is windows. It's glass, single pane glass. That's really doing essentially keeping wind out. That's about it. And there's no thermal value at all to the brick or the windows. So we want to look at this is an antiquated building that it's time to be replaced. And some systems that need to be addressed in the near future. There's areas where the brick has been pulling away from the building, and this has been addressed in the past, but it needs to be monitored still. There's the settling in the addition. We know that this addition was built over the old leaching field and it settled about 4 inches. Again, facilities has to come every year and undercut the door just to compensate for this building settling. There's limited areas covered by a sprinkler system, and then there's some ventilation concerns in the cafeteria, the gymnasium, and the kitchen. So again, these are some of the physical problems. But educationally, the library or media center is more of a circulation space. It's in the middle of the classroom cluster. The art room is accessed off the cafeteria, the music room is accessed off the gymnasium. Teachers, resource and plannings, they've done a great job kind of carving space out of closets, but again, it doesn't meet state standards. And that brings us to the project that Joel was pointing out that the MSBA approved, the option 5A, and this is a district-wide solution. And this option, based on grade bands, creates a district-wide pre-K to 2 school that would be here at Warrendale, a new school for intermediate elementary 3 to 5 at Peebles. That would be the new project. And then the middle school serves grades 6 to 8. Again, taking the 5th grade out of the middle school and putting it into an elementary school setting. This is a dramatic shift in the current school configuration with benefits for all stakeholders for the Bourne Public Schools. So again, this isn't a singular building project. This is a project that's touching all the schools in the district and looking at it to maximize the benefits and give Bourne the entire educational school system of what it needs to be in the future. So looking at this is how it breaks out. Again, Warrendale is pre-K through 2 and early elementary. Peebles is 3 to 5, and then Bourne middle school. Some of the benefits here, there's a shared educational experience. All the kids are together experiencing the same as they move from one building to the next. Social emotional benefits, focus on developmental age. So each of the schools is focused, which is incredibly beneficial. More streamlined curriculum. There's improved support programs, student transitions. Again, all the students in grade 2 move as a group to Peebles, and they move as a group at grade 5 to the middle school. So they're always together, and that's very important. There's benefits to the middle school because now you're taking the 5th grade out of the middle school and providing appropriate spaces for grade 6 to 8, and then the Thorndale school would serve full-day kindergarten. This plan's a little fuzzy, but this is the Bourndale Elementary accommodating pre-K through 2. We have K and pre-K on the first floor, and first and second on the second floor. What makes this school lend itself to an early elementary is spaces that were cut back when this building was initially built. That gymnasium is half the size of what it should be serving an elementary school, but for an early elementary school, it's just right. It's around 3,000 square feet. There's a lack of sped spaces distributed through here, and so we want to look at improving where we can in this building. And going to an early elementary, building fits well that model. So looking at the middle school, this is just the second level. That's where all the classrooms are. So the second level of the middle school now would have a 6th grade cluster, 7th grade cluster, 8th grade cluster with science rooms. Each of these grades would have their own breakout space and team room associated with that. So we're looking at providing more sped spaces, more collaborative spaces within the middle school. And now just focusing on the design for this project, we didn't just arrive at this all-district solution. There were many options studied. This is just a snapshot of some of the options. There was an option 1A that was a K4, just the status quo. It's replacing Peebles with a new building. There was that model, addition renovation. We looked at an addition here, serving grades pre-K through 4. Also a much larger building, an all-district pre-K through 5 here at Thorndale. An option 4A, both new and ad reno, serving K through 4 on that side of the canal, but an all-district 5th grade. And through all this is studied the option 5, which is grades 3 to 5 emerge as being the most viable and most practical model to move forward. The MSBA recognized this for its benefits. So now looking at the design, this is a site plan that shows where the new Peebles building will sit in the area of the existing tennis courts on the high side of the site. In this general area is the existing Peebles school. What's beneficial about this, it's a single-phase construction project. The Peebles Elementary remains occupied, school activities ongoing while this is being constructed. There's ample space to create a safe construction zone away from the ongoing school activities. We relocated the tennis courts that were here closer to the track and the field at this area, and also provided parking associated with that. This area is the bulk of the school parking. There's a dedicated bus drop-off on the east side near the entrance, as well as a drop-off zone for parents. So you need approximately 700 feet in order to accommodate all the parents who are queuing during drop-off. And that starts around here, this area, and goes all the way around to here. And so we need to create a lane that can accommodate that many vehicles for drop-off through the morning. The new building has a one-way circulation route around the building. It's 24 feet wide. This allows parents to queue on the side and also allow emergency vehicles to pass them. So it's a very wide one-way access drive through the site. The way the building is designed, it is zoned into a clear community area where you enter here in the 3rd grade wing on the 1st floor. And on the 2nd floor, this is grades 4 and 5. So there's proper zoning between community use spaces and the academic spaces. The grades are clustered by, the neighborhoods are clustered by grades, and we're able to create some great relationships with the program, and we go into that here. The main entry is right here, where you see this red arrow, and this allows access for community use of gymnasium and the cafeteria. There's a stage that's positioned between the two, so you can have a venue for 200 students or an all-school assembly or larger community event within the gymnasium and share the resource of the stage. Administration, guidance in the nurse's office is directly off of the main entrance for supervision. And that brings us into the heart of the school, the innovation area. There's an iStudio, which is the innovation studio. That's a program at the high school that the elementary students use. It's a project space, and that's associated with arts. Clustered inside the plan is an outdoor classroom that the art and the innovation studio can extend the learning environment to the outdoors. We have a media center with spaces associated with the library, or media center, and then the third grade cluster here with the team room. On the upper level, we have grades 4 with the team space and grades 5 also with the team space. So that's the general layout of the plan. It's pretty simple, very clear circulation from one area of the building to the next. In part of this study, we're finally starting to get into what does this building look like. And looking at the exterior, we don't want to come with a preconceived notion of what your building should look like. We want to take cues from Bourne, from the area. And we look at the bridge, we look at shingle-style houses, clapboard, and see a pattern that emerges. And this building, we want to have that Cape feel. We see silver, grayish material that signifies permanence. And these buildings in here have been here for 50, 100 years, and they look weathered, but there's this great permanence to it. And that's what we want to capture within this building, a very light, clean building, clean edges. And so we're just getting into this, and I encourage everybody at the end of the presentation to come take a closer look at the model. This is just from our last school building committee meeting where we went through the model and looked at areas that may express the shingle style in some areas and a clapboard area within the texture is very important. So we see clapboard being expressed on this wing, and then also bringing in the warmth of wood, natural material into the building. So look at it from the other side, from the south side. With that, as an overview of the design, I'm going to turn to Jim Flaynight, who's looked at our transportation plan and some of the options with that.
Hi, good evening. With the building of the new Peebles Elementary School and now both Bournedale and Peebles becoming district-wide schools, there's going to be need to be changes in the school bus schedules and how the routes are structured. So what we want to do, the purpose of my involvement is to try to take a look at the bus routes, look at bell times, and come up with some different options for what the school bus routes could potentially look like. Typically in New England and throughout many parts of the country, usually school bus routes are either a 2-tier or a 3-tier structure. Typical Tier 1 would be the high school, Tier 2 the middle school, Tier 3 the elementary schools, which you have here now. And then also we see some 2-tier routing structures with the high school, middle school students ride together, and then the elementary schools are second. Generally, a 2-tier system is one where you're covering more geography, you have a bigger geographic footprint, less dense population, whereas a 3-tier system, it's a little bit smaller geographic footprint and a little bit more of a densely populated area. This shows current ridership, what will happen with ridership changes. You can see currently in the left-hand column, these are the students that are assigned to school bus routes currently, and then with the reconfiguration of the schools, and also at going to a full-day kindergarten model where you're adding in, you're eliminating the midday kindergarten routes, so that all the kindergarten students will be coming in the morning and going home in the afternoon on the elementary routes. That adds approximately 41 students. So the numbers on each tier change a little bit. Our current bus route structure, you have the high school on tier 1, you have the middle school on tier 2, and then you have the Peebles Elementary and the Bourne on tier 3. There's a total of 18 buses that provide that are currently 18 bus routes at the heaviest tier, which is tier 2. Now we have 3 options that we've kind of arrived at. One would be tier 1, would be combining middle school and high school together. This option would now require the middle school students to go in earlier than they do now. So they'd go from 8 o'clock to 7:20. The tier 2 would be the Peebles Elementary, the 3 through 5, and they would basically move it to the spot that the middle school used to be in. We changed it 5 minutes, but 8:05 to 2:25. And then the Bourne Elementary, 3-tier, going from 9:15 to 3:15. We needed to move that back a little bit. Right now, some of the buses are arriving a little bit late here. And with pushing the Peebles back and just the numbers changed a little bit, we wanted to add some extra time there. This option 1 would require 2 additional buses from the current structure. Option 2 is going to a 2-tier system where tier 1, we'd have the high school and middle school students together just as they were in option 1, but we're going to move the bell times later, so we'd have the high school going in 7:40 in the morning, and now the middle school going in at 7:45. So now the high school goes in 25 minutes later, and I'm not an educational expert, but there's been a lot of studies that the high school students, a later bell time in the morning helps them in terms of they're a little bit more awake and ready to learn. I know Nauset Regional has made a change on their high school time and gone to a later time. So, one of the benefits may be that this is a improvement for the high school students on their getting a little bit more sleep in the morning, maybe being a little bit more awake and being able to take in more information. But as I said, I'm not necessarily advocating for that, but that is a general consensus. A lot of school districts are looking at later bell times for the high school students. And then tier 2 would be the Peebles and Bourne on tier 2 at the current bell times at 9 and 3. So now this option requires 22 buses. So this option required 2 additional buses more than option 1. And then option 3 is a high school pretty much staying at the same time they are now, the middle school staying at the same time they are, and the Peebles and Bourne Elementary together at 9:15, 3:15. This option 3 is also requires 22 buses. Recommendations. Right now, there are a total of 22 buses in the fleet. 18 of them are everyday route buses. The other 4 are spare buses if there's a mechanical breakdown, or they could be used for field trips or athletic trips. Of the 22 buses, 5 of them are 77 passenger vehicles. They're the flat nose or transit style buses. The other 17 are the conventional 71 passengers. I would recommend in the next bus contract going to more 77 passenger buses. The flat nose buses, even though there's greater capacity, their turning radius is similar to a 71 passenger. So if a current bus can maneuver down the streets without any issues, the flat nose 77 would also be able to do that. So, just as an example, if you went to 10 additional 77 passengers in the next contract, you pick up an additional 40 seats. You get 1 extra row basically in the 77 passengers. So for high school and middle school, you pick up 4 additional seats per bus. Another thing we looked at is over time, bus routes can become stale and less efficient. You know, if we go forward with the project, you know, and I talked to Sue about it, it'd be a good time to kind of pause and take a look at all of the routes and see if there's any efficiencies that we can find. That would be the perfect time to really try to take advantage of any of that we can. We talked about a little bit before in comparing the three options. Option one is really 2 additional buses. If 55 to 110,000 from 1 to 2. For budgeting purposes, I think you want to say 2. Potentially, because we're talking about doing routing 3 years from now. So, the exact number of students, the exact addresses, all of that detailed information you need to create bus routes, we don't have today. So I think just for planning purposes and for budgeting purposes, we should look at 2. And then option 2, we talked about needing 2 additional buses beyond option 1, so that'd be 4 additional buses. Option 3 is also the same there. And looking at the children that are going to be affected with the new district-wide schools. So if you have K through 2 students who live in Peebles and now are going to have to be transported to Bournedale, their time is going to now be greater. They're being transported a farther distance. And then conversely,
Next slide.
oh, all right, yeah, we can look at the next slide, it really spells that out. So, first of all, the PK students are transported on vans that the district operates. So the PK students are not on big buses. All right, so kindergarten at Bournedale, if you're a Cape Side resident, no change. Was all the Ks?
Because they go to Thorndale.
They all go to Bournedale. Okay. So if you're a Cape Side resident for grade 1 or 2, there's an additional 15 minutes. And then if you're an off Cape for 3 and 4, there's an additional 15 minutes. So not all of the students are going to be affected, only the students that are going to be moving from one side to the other. And I think what I talked was, once again, we're talking about creating routes 3 years from now. But certainly what we'll try to accomplish in designing the routes is that the children, if there's a student that lives down on the Falmouth line and that is now being transported to Bournedale, we want to do everything we can to make that route as short as possible, so that it minimizes their additional time. And conversely, if there's students from the Bournedale Center, so, Sue and I have talked about that, and I'm sure, that's one of the considerations would be trying to minimize the additional time.
Thanks, Jim. And as Jim said, we're starting these preliminary investigations and planning on the transportation plan. And knowing that should the project be voted this fall, and I'll go through the overall schedule, that we have many years to really pinpoint and finalize the best transportation plan. We thought it would be prudent, though, at this juncture, at this level, to kind of bracket those tiers, those different options that we have that we'll certainly be grappling with over the next several years to make sure we get to the best plan for the town of Bourne. So looking down the road, with a successful vote at the special town meeting this fall and the special ballot election on December 6th. On December 7th, the detailed design would commence. That is the detailed drawings to be able to provide to the contractor to secure bids and commence construction. That detailed design phase would finish approximately October 2017. It does take a while to develop the overall set of documents. There's various submissions to the state as well. They will continuously monitor this project to make sure that we're designing to the project that their board approved, such that we would commence construction in November 2017 with the goal of opening up the new Peebles School August 2019. So that period of time that we just talked about to develop our transportation plan, to be able to make sure that it is in place for August 2019. So we have years to really make sure it's the best plan for the town. After we open up the new school in August, we'll then demolish the existing Peebles School and continue and finish up the site work in and around that area. So that's the long range overall schedule after the town meeting and the special vote this fall. Relative to project costs and project reimbursement from the state, as I said earlier, the MSBA Board of Directors voted to approve option 5A going into the schematic design phase. That represents an approximate $14 million grant from the state, which is very, very significant. Looking at the total project costs for the option 5A, it's comprised of building costs of approximately $25 million, hazardous materials and abatement of approximately $1.6 million, site work approximately $4.1 million, with a total of about $30.9 million for hard costs. That is the bricks and mortar. Along with that, costs is contingencies, it's furnishings and fittings and equipment, it's educational technology and systems, all leading up to a total project cost of $39.99 million. That is the total project cost for the option 5A as we see it now. The purpose of this schematic design phase that we'll be finishing in September is to advance the design further so we can get additional cost estimates done. There'll be two independent cost estimates done. One that is retained through my office, the project manager's office, and one that is retained through the architect's office. So you have two independent looks at what the building costs would be, so that you're really investigating the costs quite significantly. Those cost estimates then have to get submitted to the MSBA, who will review them as well, all for the purposes of making sure that the costs that we bring to you as the voters are the costs for the project. So how does the MSP reimbursement work? The MSBA has a rigorous process, as we talked about before, to make sure that we're investigating all aspects of the project. They'll participate in reimbursing elements of the project that are eligible, they're term eligible. So that means there are certain project costs that are ineligible. The MSBA treats those ineligible metrics for every single project across the state the same way. That is, they're charged with distributing as much as the 1 cent on the sales tax that they get as a state agency to develop and build school projects to as broad a constituency across the community and across the Commonwealth as possible. And so they have some measures to help control how much money communities get through each particular project. So they have some caps that are solely related to how much they reimburse on projects. recognizing that some are urban projects, some are very rural projects, some are very suburban projects, some have large football stadiums, some have no football stadiums. So these are metrics that they develop to kind of level the playing field. So site costs over 8% of, I'm reading from this bullet now, site costs over 8% of the building costs are ineligible. The state just treats that same metric evenly across the Commonwealth. They don't say that sites are supposed to cost 8% because they don't. Every single site, every single project is more than the 8% cap. The state recognizes that, but it's their way of evenly distributing the funding across as many projects as possible. Building costs over $312 a square foot. Asbestos flooring and abatement, they don't reimburse for that. You do have some over at Peebles. Their expectation was that communities would have abated that over the years, and in which is the majority of the projects that move forward. You're not alone. Asbestos flooring was a significant material that was put in the 50s and early 60s, and nearly every community that's doing the project deals with asbestos flooring. Furnishing students and equipment, or FF&E, that's all the teachers' chairs, student chairs, the desks, etc. The technology costs over $2,400 a student is ineligible. And then legal fees, moving expenses, and construction contingencies over 1% or 2% for renovations. Those are just their metrics. They use those evenly across the state. They don't mean that every project is to be within those metrics. It just means that's how they develop their reimbursement formula. So what does that mean to us? Your base rate is 43.84% of eligible costs, and then they have incentive points above that. It's 0 to 2 points additional for maintenance. MSBA will tell us what you will get for your maintenance reimbursement factor. It's all about how well you've maintained your buildings. They know all of your records because you have to submit them all. We thought it prudent to carry 1% for the analysis that we're doing at this level. As we go through the schematic design phase, the state will give us what that exact reimbursement percentage will be. We believe it's going to be over 1, because you've done a very good job in maintaining your buildings. But we didn't want to be too aggressive at this level. We should get that number over the next month or so from the MSBA. And then green schools, having designed very energy efficient schools, you're in a great position because your architect is one of the best in the state at designing highly energy efficient green schools. And so to be able to get those 2 additional reimbursement points, we're very, very comfortable that we'll be able to get those 2 additional reimbursement points, leaving a total of 46.84% of eligible costs. So how does that then translate against the $39.9 million total project cost? Once you factor in all of the formulas that MSBA has for all the project costs, that equates to a grant of approximately $14.22 million from the state for the project, which is a very, very significant grant for a project of this size. And we feel very optimistic with the MSBA's strong support over the last month or so, leading up to the board vote, that $14.22 million will hold, and it may even get a little bit better as we kind of refine the overall cost during this phase. Certainly the goal is to make sure that we're designing as efficient, cost-effective, long-term building for the town of Bourne. And so we'll constantly look at those costs to make sure you're getting the most value out of the project. So what are the next steps? Tonight we've got our community forum, number 8. We've got a selectmen's meeting on the 23rd of August. We've got community forum number 9, September 20th, over at the Peebles School, and we encourage the community to participate in that meeting. In September or October, we're working to schedule a meeting with the Finance Committee and other boards as we go through this process, leading up to the submission to the MSBA on September 29th. Anticipating bringing the project to the voters at the October 17th special town meeting. Having the Board of Directors provide the overall approval for the project. After that, on their November 9th meeting, which will then be able to bring it to the voters in their special ballot election vote on December 6th. So all the dates are firming up. We anticipate these dates at this moment, and we'll continue to work with all of the boards to make sure that as we go through the process, that the dates are solidified and we will follow those milestones. All of the information that we've developed over the last year to a year and a half across all 21 building committee meetings, 8 community forums, and the multiple surveys is all posted on the town's website. The town office was gracious enough to allow us to create a project website for all of the citizens of the town to access, and so we've been posting, the building committee's been posting all relevant documents on that website. It's a very, very significant amount of information. Some of the reports are about 1,000 pages, so we would caution you not to just start to print some of them. And there are many documents on the website. And we have an email account, SBC at the town of Bourne. Should you have any questions whatsoever, the building committee wants to answer them. And so, with that, we'd like to open it up to questions. We encourage participation as much as possible. I know it's very, very warm outside today, so it might be tough coming out, but certainly at our building committee meetings, which are open to the public and they're all posted, please attend and also attend our next community meeting. And Jim, you want to close any remarks?
I'd like to thank everyone that did come out tonight. I guess we must be doing a good job because there's no questions. So we're meeting again next week, and you can catch us next week. Please come to our meetings. We will have some further community presentations. All of our meetings are posted, but we're meeting next week. Is next week 7 o'clock? Yeah, the 18th. So 6:30 at the community building. Please attend and participate in this process so that at the very end, we get the best project for the town. So thanks again. Have a good night.